I've got to say something. I've been real quiet lately, real quiet. But there's been so much going on that I feel like I actually need to comment on what's going on. I just can't believe humans right now, as usual. I guess that's not a surprise from me. Anyways, basically what's happened, I wrote this 2 nights ago and thought I'd go ahead and make a video. So I'm going to talk about what I wrote here. Well, I'm going to read what I wrote. Obama's kicked out Russian diplomats and passed sanctions against Russia. They are running with the narrative that the Russians did the hacking to undermine not Clinton, but our entire democratic election process. No proof of this, but lots and lots of belief. What they've really done is deflected away from the content of the DNC hack and created a clever way of discrediting Trump's victory. Hillary even blamed Putin for some sort of personal vendetta against her. She blamed the media and something called fake news, as if there's a difference from the fake news from the mainstream news, who are mouthpieces for government and corporate agendas. Now it gets worse. Obama turned the internet over to international control a couple weeks ago and has signed the NDAA with a provision to prevent the dissemination of propaganda, which of course is fake news, from any other sources than those that are government approved. Very nice. People have complained, too, that Trump is inheriting the mechanisms of a police state. And I would have to ask, who has set this all up? This propaganda fake news idea is an article or an academic paper. I don't feel like writing that, of course. The validity of the idea of fake news is that most news amounts to fake news. Events that do not need the magnification of the media are superexposed for the purpose of a particular narrative, whilst the real events of the same magnitude are not, if they do not fit the narrative structure. Structures which are supported are easily recognized by the critically thinking observer of the mainstream news sources. Whites are bad, cops shoot black young men for no reason, must be a racist state we live under, no other reason. And one can always blame poverty and, once again, racism. Obama is good and has been good, very subjective term, for the United States. Terrorists crashed planes into the World Trade Center, Branch Davidians made speed and abused children, terrorist passports can survive the World Trade Center explosions, humans have caused global warming, and it is real, of course. Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, good thing the U.S. doesn't, ha 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 ha. Osama bin Laden was killed by U.S. Special Forces in a sovereign nation and buried at sea. Russian hackers attacked our electoral process and our democratic way of life. Of course, for most of these stories, in fact, all of those stories really, we have no sources other than the mainstream media or the government itself, who of course can supply these stories to the mainstream media. All this in conjunction with public relations stories from the farming industry, medical, chemical, and food and law enforcement industrial complexes. Fascism in its true form. People use that word all the time. Fascism, fascism, fascism. And they don't seem to have any idea of what it means. Mussolini said, and he was the creator of the idea of fascism, that it is the combination of state and corporate power. How long have we been living under this system? Anyways, and I didn't mention the military-industrial complex because it's a given. The military-industrial complex since the Spanish-American War has realized that having a complacent media is an ace in the hole for profit, and for the manipulation of the masses into supporting the fake narratives, which usually lead to war. And of course, the masses have been presented two false options usually. They've always been given two options that always lead to the same inevitable triumph of the will of the government over that of the people. And the people, of course, well, they don't care enough to even bother to research anything. Even in this technological age, when we have all the information we could ever desire in front of us, people are still running around ignorant. Surprise, surprise. And then the fact of the matter is, it's only a minority of a minority that bothers to actually do any thinking, or reading, or research. Instead, everybody's too concerned about first world problems like gender identity and what bathroom should be allowed to someone who has transitioned or is transitioning. sex or gender or whatever it is now. I always understood sex to be the genitals one have as being the determining agent, but apparently the socially constructed idea of gender can actually be the deciding factor. That and that big beautiful frontal lobe of ours has a habit of complicating that which should seem obvious, though that would or perhaps was very un-PC of me. There's also Pokemon Go and porn. Lots and lots of porn and music, lots of music and cat videos. And they're cute, of course, and cute babies, puppies, hummingbirds, lizards, etc. And there are reality shows and porn and funny videos and schadenfreude and documentaries, porn and music and podcasts, porn, poetry, prose, porn, and Xboxes, PlayStations, and Wii. Reality shows and news as narrative, Wikipedia and Google, dragging the mind down to non-thinking with the illusion of learning and so distracted. What is missing is thinking, critically, and sometimes at all.